Hello folks, this is GuruBen, just outside Cineworld, Sheffield, UK, about to go in to see Elvis. So today we're gonna watch Elvis, and if we have a little bit of time, so I might also watch The Black Phone a little bit later. Uh, so about Elvis, obviously we all know what this film is about. It's a biopic about Elvis Presley, the God, right? So, in fact, quite a while ago, I knew when I found out that the Elvis film was going to be released. I had thought of making a song as an ode to Elvis, which is like similar style music as Elvis Presley. But some of my other projects got delayed, and then I had some like other practical issues because of which that project, never took off. But that's one of the things on my to-do list, like to make a song which is like a similar style to an Elvis Presley song as a tribute, as my tribute to Elvis Presley. I have already made one song which is like an old rock and roll feel, Pretty Woman. You can check out Pankaj Goyal, that's my name, and Pretty Woman on Spotify, iTunes, wherever.
First look where she took my heart and I lost my everything. Second time when I told her that, she showed me a wedding ring. And I again was left all alone, all by myself in the lonely roads, until I really looked around.
Anyways, I'll make one song on with the Elvis style of music as well. Sort of an oldies Elvis kind of a feel to it. But that's for some other day. Today we are going to watch the film Elvis and do a fresh review straight after coming out of cinema, as fresh as it gets. All right. So it's time to get in, get my beer, and settle into my seat. All right then. See you in a while. Whoa. It wasn't a very happy story. Obviously, I expected that because Elvis died quite young. So it's a story about like his life and how he coped with stardom, the drugs, and a whole lot of stuff. And then looks like his manager himself also contributed a whole lot.
Oh, look. I just had a little cry. Oh, I did.
So his manager seems to have contributed a lot towards his problems, So yeah, one thing I noticed is after a very very long time I saw a cinema hall which was full. I remember like growing up in India, there used to be all these cinemas with single screen, and there's huge cinema halls, and most of them were converted to like multiplexes later on. But you can imagine each cinema in those days used to be so big that each cinema later, when converted to multiplex, ended up having 8, 10 screens or 12 screens in there. So that's how big those single screen cinemas used to be in India. And it was very common, like you'd go there and houseful, you'd see houseful, and you can't buy a ticket, so you have to buy the ticket in black with some of the touts roaming around outside. So, but over here, even in US over here, I've not seen like situation where like the cinema is full, or there is a houseful situation where you can't buy the ticket. Just walk in like into the cinema, and you always get the tickets. But in this case, when I bought the ticket, there were only few seats remaining, and when I like saw the film, the whole cinema was packed. There was not a single seat I could see which was vacant. So this show must have been a house full, which is kind of rare in like most of the countries in Europe. When I've seen films, it's very very rare. I've seen maybe once or twice before, It's a rare thing. So once in Harry Potter, one of the Harry Potter films earlier. So that's the sort of situation. So which is not surprising considering Elvis was a big star, and so obviously I could see like even people around, and forget what other people, like even me, I love his songs, and so yeah, I could see like people are like cheering at every little song he's playing and the little antic he's doing on the screen, and people were actually like uh, they were into the film. So this film did draw people in, and the story itself overall is a real story, and it's a sad story. So it's kind of heartbreaking to see his situation in the end, what all he faced. I won't say what it is, like you gotta go see the film. But yeah, I need to watch something fun or something exciting now, because this has been a little bit of a sort of a sad ride.
Catch me if you can. Come on, just take my hand. Catch me if you can. Come on, come on. What would you do when I'm not around you? Who would sing you songs when you're feeling low? So before I'm gone.
So it gives me a bit of a on the drive back, gives me a bit of a time to digest the film and think about it a little bit more. So here's the second part of the review for Elvis. Oh boy. So obviously you can understand that if it's a story of Elvis being told, then it has to be a musical. It has to be a musical. And that's the sort of feel this film had. But this film was told from the perspective of Elvis' manager, uh, Colonel Parker, and a lot of people blame him for overworking Elvis, taking advantage of him, and driving him to his death, early death. So I don't know how true that is, but that's what a lot of people accuse him of. So the story being told from his perspective obviously is more about like certain events that happened, series of events that happened, series of shows he did. But I would have liked to see a little bit more of what Elvis was like a person, you know. Uh, uh, I would have liked to know more about him as a person. What was he like as an individual, as a person, rather than just seeing a bunch of shows he did, what songs he sang, rather than those kind of things, or the kind of financial troubles he had. Those things happened, so they need to be shown. But I'm sure like everyone wants to know like who Elvis was, right? Not that big megastar, but who Elvis was as a person, as a man, as a husband, as a father, as a friend, as a son, you know. And I think when I see something like this, that's when I realize that these are the kind of films Bollywood should make. Those films, because Bollywood can do like, these are the kind of things like Bollywood can do so much more justice to. First and foremost, like if it's supposed to be a musical, then who does musicals best? Of course, Bollywood. Hollywood doesn't have that sort of experience anymore, making proper musicals for like grown-ups. They make musicals like only for women or children nowadays. And so, and secondly, let me give you an example of how this would have been different if Bollywood would have made it. They would have focused so much more on Priscilla. I was so surprised that you just show her in one scene and then just see her hanging around here and there, and then just suddenly she just leaves him, right? And practically like she's like supposed to be a part of his life, and his wife, right? His love interest, and there's hardly any focus in this film on her or Elvis' relationship with her. If this film would have been made by an Indian film industry, especially Bollywood, they would have like gone out of the way to actually portray Elvis as a person. they would have shown Elvis, like how they met, right? What was their relationship like? They would have shown their romance. They would have shown, obviously, if Elvis is in love with somebody, he must have written some songs for her, or like thinking about her, right? They would have focused on that, that these are the songs that Elvis wrote for her. Like, they would have shown more of Elvis as a person, as a husband, as a lover, and they would have shown a little bit more of like what the relationship was like before marriage or after marriage with Priscilla. So here, none of that was there. So I was so disappointed with that. I wanted to see more of Elvis as a person, about his relationship with his wife, his daughter. None of that was given any room in this film. And it's just she shows up in one scene, then you see her hanging about like on side of the stage, just like other spectators here and there, few scenes, and then suddenly she decides to leave him. That's it. That's all the focus there is on his personal life. Uh, and then yeah, so Bollywood have done so much better. They would have like uh, one whole act they would have dedicated to Elvis' relationship with his wife, and they would have actually like tried to highlight what the reasons were for her to leave, and they would have probably like shown whatever is historically true. They would have tried to spice it up, but whatever is historically true, whether they try to work things out or whether it's just that one fine day they decided to separate and then never considered coming back together, whatever that might be, they would have focused a little bit more on that, you know. So that's where this film kind of disappointed me. That I wanted to see more of that, him and his relationship with his daughter and his wife. Yeah, another thing that I thought, like, I would have liked to see more. They basically pick up the story from when Colonel Parker basically signs him up. He sees him singing for the first time, and then he signs him up because they're telling the story from his perspective, right? But by the time he had already had a record come out from Sun Records, and it had already been successful. So even if he would not have met Colonel Parker, he would have still made it big in the industry because his first record had already made it big, right? So the thing is, I would have liked to see more like of him growing up. How, like, they show some montage of him growing up a little bit here and there, but they don't focus on it. Like, I thought that deserved a little bit more focus. Like a child growing up, what was like challenges while growing up as a child. Like how did he got introduced to the music? They show a little bit of montage here, but needed a little bit more focus. And wanted to see Elvis as a person. And then they could have shown like how did he even get to that stage where like he got that contract with Sun Records for the first record, and then that made it big, right? That would have been amazing, because that's what you want to see, like somebody like rising from like absolute abject poverty to reach a stage where he actually signs his first record deal, and that record becomes successful. So they skipped over all of that part. They just show that, oh yeah, he already has a record which is doing well from Sun Records. But then again, if Bollywood have done this film, they would have focused a little bit more on that. They would have shown the challenges he's facing, how he's overcome those challenges, and then they would have shown like a little bit more triumph. I needed to see some triumph. He was a big man. He was a bloody god of rock and roll. He had huge success in his life. Even that first record, which he recorded, which did well, I'm sure he must have felt some triumph here, right? Like, how did he even get to that stage, like where he managed to break through that challenges he had and get his first record? That deserved a bit more focus. I wanted to see more of that, but none of that was covered here in this film. And then that sense of triumph was missing, like where I'm sure, like as a person like who's grown through like abject poverty, all of a sudden when he makes it big, like his first records from Sun Records like becomes a big hit, what did he feel? What did his family feel? Or what did his friends feel? Like, what was going on there, So uh, I wanted to see some of that triumph as well. Not just okay, these are the places he played, and these are the concerts he did, and these are the financial challenges he had, and some just chronological events like just happening without any insight into why those things were happening and how did he. It was just different type of a story. So obviously, like from Hollywood standards, this film is really good, and the house was full. There was not a single seat vacant, so people are liking that film. I also like that film overall, but I felt it needed to do a little bit more justice to this biopic. It needed to cover a little bit more of his life, show us more of a Elvis as a human being, Elvis as a person, Elvis as a father, Elvis as son, Elvis as a friend. So needed to show focus more on that, because a lot of these things they show, like, where all he played and what all records he played, like, yeah, I mean, most people know that. I knew quite a lot of that already, and just having a chronological sequence of like this happened, that happened, this happened, that happened, with you need a little bit more soul and emotion behind it, and show a little bit deeper into the person. Like, imagine like the first time, like a poor kid growing out in Memphis, he has the first record that comes out, he wins that record deal, like, you would expect like him to like just jump out and, I don't know, like celebrate or whatever, right? We needed to see some of that triumph, which was lacking in this film. Yeah, so other than that, I think this was a good film. Like I said, that's the difference between Bollywood and Hollywood. Like, Hollywood makes films nice, like technically, usually you would see those films really well laid out. The scripts are all okay, cinematography is good, the direction is good, the acting is good. They even make sure to like cast the actors who actually can fit the role. So from all those technical aspects, there's not much to say. It's really good. It's just that I thought it needed a little bit of soul, the kind of soul which probably Hollywood needs to learn from Bollywood. How to add those emotions, how to add those soul, how to focus on that romance, how to focus on that person. So same film, if made in Bollywood, they would have started with his childhood. They would have basically shown more about him growing up, the challenges he faced, and how he overcame those challenges, how he managed to get the first record deal, how he felt, and celebrated with his friends or family whenever the first record came out and became successful. Then they would have devoted so that whole thing the Bollywood would have devoted at least one act to, and then one act Bollywood would have devoted to like his romance with Priscilla, and all the success he achieved, and like him reaching the peaks, and like his romance with Priscilla, how he felt, like, in that relationship, and how that relationship was about. So they probably would have focused on that in probably one act of the film, and then one act they would have then probably like focused on his financial troubles and his downfall and all these problems that towards the end of his life he faced, and which led to his death. So I think that would have been the right balance and right mix for that film. So from that point of view, like, I'm a bit disappointed. It's a good film, but I'm a bit disappointed. I wanted to see a little bit more of him. I know a whole lot of things about what he did, but I want to see like who Elvis was. What he felt. How did he get that deal? How did he get Priscilla? Like, how was their relationship? Which I couldn't see here. So that's my gripe with this film. But yeah, obviously, most people would go and see this film because of the stature Elvis holds in society. So, and I don't blame them. It's a good film. Do go and see it. And just like, it's just my personal thing of what I thought I might be seeing, or what I think Hollywood should focus on next time around when they make a film like that, instead of just the kind of film they have made in this particular case. All right. So yeah, so that's my review, and so I watch a lot of films. I'll keep bringing a lot of reviews, all unscripted, all just straight out of my head. One straight after coming out of the cinema, one immediately after coming back home, 20-25 minutes later. All unscripted, all unplanned. So whatever just comes to my mind, and that's what I'm gonna say. All right then. So see you in the next film, next review. Take care. Bye.